Welcome back to True Geordie Extra. Subscribe for more boxing content, YouTube boxing content, UFC content. It's all here, right here. I know. The criticisms are there. The Leon Edwards fight, I still haven't done it. I will get around to it. I'm sorry. I've just been busy. And right now, YouTube boxing is really, I'm just excited by it. You know what I mean? I know a lot of these lads, so just cut me some slack for now. So I wanted to do my top 10 YouTube boxers. So this is going to be based on, you know, who you fought, who did you beat, and how did you perform in fights, whether you won or lost. You know what I mean? What did you look like in that? So in at number 10, this was a tricky one because obviously you've still got to be good, but you're not the best, and it isn't as obvious. And there's a lot of names there. There's like Deji, you know, looked good in his last fight, but not so good before that at times. Alex Wasabi, who won against Deji, but didn't look amazing doing it. I thought about iDubbbz because I thought iDubbbz had a really good showing in his fight, but again, he lost. And I settled on a guy called Taylor Holder. I think Taylor Holder deserves to be on this list because when you rewatch the Gib fight, you see how defensively sound he was in that fight, and although he wasn't as aggressive as he should have been, I think there's real talent there, and I would like to see him fight again. There's fights like Bryce Hall there. I know they don't get on anymore for whatever reason. Who cares? I found the guy entertaining and he's slick, so he's in at number 10. In at number 9, it's Kenny. Kenny has always looked solid in every fight I've watched him in, even when he's in a controversial decision. That does not take away from how solid he looked in his performances. And I think because Kenny kind of took on difficult fights from the get-go, it's been hard for him, but still he's hung in there, he's looked good, and I think his ceiling is quite high in this game. So number 9 is Kenny. At number 8, I went for Dr. Mike. I don't really know a lot about this guy other than the fact that he did well against iDubbbz. He looks annoyingly like good looking and like a doctor. Like sort of, I bet you he gets mad pussy. He's probably got a wife, but you know.
I'm about to tell you a story about an injury that I had that then got worse from a medical error, then got worse with the worst medical encounter I've ever heard of, let alone I've had.
It sounds like he's got the same GP as I do. I mean, he's got 10 million subs. I don't know anything about YouTube at this point. This guy's got 10 million subs. I didn't even know. He's a good boxer. That's the main thing and he's physically advanced as opposed to a lot of these guys on this list. He is big. He's strong. He knows how to use that against his opponents. A very solid fighter and going to be difficult fight for anyone who gets in there with him. Even though he's very nice, that may hold him back. He may be a bit too nice, you know. Another nice guy is my number 7 on the list, Faze Sensei. Sensei is a real OG in the community of martial arts and then blending that with the YouTube stuff, and he has shown his skills, and I don't see him getting any better. He's admitted that himself. He's kind of the fully developed version of himself, but those skills are tremendous by comparison to a lot of the other people. I had a mate of mine who works for BT Sport saying after he watched Sensei versus Kenny, that really changed his whole opinion on the YouTube boxing, and that's a testament to both of those guys because they were in there and they looked very, very good. With Sensei, he's got good head movement, good footwork. He sees the shots that are available. He disguises things well. Just an all-rounder in the YouTube boxing game. But again, a bit nice. And I think if he had that mentality that a KSI had, I think he'd be a demon. To be honest with you, that's the only thing I think holds him back. In at number 6 is Papi. Now, I fully believe that this will change. I think this guy has got a lot of ability and I could see him climbing the list very quickly in his next fight or two. He hasn't had the competition, but it's the way he's got rid of them. That is the impressive bit. You know, we've seen before, sometimes when you've got a fighter who isn't necessarily very good, it can be hard to get them out of there. We seen KSI in his last fight, took his time and it wasn't just gone in 60 seconds. You know, that isn't an easy thing to do. Granted, I think those guys were kind of running away from him, well, very much so. So that was different. Whereas Papi's opponent, the last one, was game and did actually come forward, and that's why he got flatlined in 2 seconds. But the point is the hands of Papi, they look special compared to everybody else in this space. He has something. What he's got, I'm not sure of yet. That's why I've got him in at number 6 because he looks great so far. Number 5 was a hard one because I could have went 4 and 5. They could have been swapped over, to be honest, because it is getting that level where we haven't seen a lot of these top guys fight each other at this point. Slim got number 5. I think his competition has definitely increased recently and he's finished everyone he's been in there with. He has shown a real natural understanding of how to manage a fight. The way he adapted to Faze tempers his reach and height and the fact that he was a southpaw, the fact and he dragged him into the dogfight that he needed to. And I think right as he landed the big shot, I said, if a judge was watching this and looking at who was implementing their game plan best, you would say it was Slim. And that was when he cracked him. There's really something there. He is game bred. He is a fighter right into his heart, you know, and he never looks worried. He never looks stressed out. And I think that him having that performing under the lights mentality, you're always going to get a good showing from him. And it's going to take a lot to stop this guy. So he is a very solid entry at number 5. In at number 4, it's AnEsonGib. Gib's place on this list is as well earned as anybody's. Early on, you know, I was wondering, are you getting better? Or what will happen after this Jake Paul defeat? Because he had a very couple of dominant displays before Jake Paul, but Jake Paul was just that next level. And instead of letting that break him, it made him. And he went back to the drawing board and he took from that loss and changed his game. And if you look at him against Taylor Holder, who's on this list, dominated him. Austin McBroom, who I actually think could well be on this list within a year if he wanted to keep fighting, dominated him and obliterated him, actually. And that was not just through the toughness and the engine, which is what we know as Gib has. It was through fight IQ. It was through understanding how to enter, how to get out of there, how to defend yourself, how to deal with setbacks within a fight. And I think that he, again, just like Slim, is a test for anyone he steps in there with, and a really well-earned place at number 4. This is where it gets very difficult, because in at number 3, I've gone for Logan Paul. And you could make an argument for Logan being below some of these fighters on this list in terms of what they've achieved. Gib has went out there and destroyed a McBroom. Slim has went out there and destroyed Faze Temper. They are fantastic wins, better than what Logan has. But I have to base some of this as well on how you perform when you're in the ring and who it's against. Logan had some great moments in both fights against KSI, especially that first one, and against Floyd Mayweather. Very, very difficult to argue that any YouTube boxer has ever looked better in a fight against the highest level of opponent possible than Logan Paul. That may be the best performance we've seen to date. So while he doesn't have an official win, what we've seen from him tells me that he beats most of the guys on this list. So that's why I went for number 3, but I would like to see him on that next Misfit card in January. Him and JJ are supposedly going to be on that card. See him fight a YouTube boxer or someone who it is a winnable fight, because we need to see him match some of the achievements of the guys on this list, which is to get a devastating win. And I know he wants to. In at number 2, it's KSI. Difficult one, because I understand that some people may critique this and say some of these fighters below him have shown better boxing technique. I mean, you could argue Taylor Holder showed better boxing technique at times than KSI, but he didn't win. JJ has some very legitimate wins against Logan Paul, which I think puts him right up there. And in his last 2 fights, despite them being against bad opposition, he showed improvement. He showed that physically he is a beast, and I think he's going to be very, very hard for anyone to stop. We just need to see that next fight really figure out, when he takes on someone who is going to attack him, where his true level is. Because honestly, I really don't know, but I just felt like I have to give him that number 2 spot based on all of the previous achievements against Logan, and now him looking dominant in his previous 2 fights. In at number 1, this was the easiest one. It's Jake Paul. Can Jake Paul be beaten by any of these guys on this list? Possibly. Maybe Logan, KSI, maybe there's someone in there who is going to get a lot better in time, we don't know. But for what he's done, undefeated, stopped guys in devastating fashion, knocked out a former UFC champion, and now taking on one of the greatest strikers in the history of martial arts in Anderson Silva. It's without question right now Jake's number 1, but this could all change in a year. It could be completely different. If we see Anderson Silva go out there and smoke Jake Paul, which is possible, Jake Paul all of a sudden has a bit of an identity crisis of, right, okay, so I'm not as good as I thought I was. Does he go back to YouTube boxing? Does his confidence get affected? There's so much that can change, but I personally believe Jake Paul is a talent that's here to stay, and I think he'll give a good account of himself against Anderson Silva, because he's dedicated himself better than most of these other guys so far. I think Gib is up there in terms of dedication, but he has been flat out, and that's why he is where he is at the top of the game right now. So this is my top 10. Don't forget to hit that like button, stay subscribed to the True Geordie Extra channel for more fight content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.